Yes, I'm blessed. Like I'm telling you, the founder of the defunct bank had two lifelines, like you mentioned, to actually pay up those amounts or go to jail. He had not paid that amount. Richard Kojo start through proceedings for us. So, Richard, what was the reasoning of the court in handing out this judgment?
Well, so the court took notice of the fact that on the 27th of July 2023, Mr. Ato Essien was given a lifeline to pay the remaining amount. So that was 55 million Ghana cedis. So the judge indicated that he expected Mr. Ato Essien to redeem himself, having that long stretch of time from the vacation period up to 2 months. So today when they came to court, he was expecting the news from Mr. Ato Essien that I have the money, I am coming to pay. So he defaulted in the April deadline and then defaulted in the August 31st deadline, and which gave the court no other option than to pass a sentence on him. You know that the court held the sentence in abeyance because they reached an agreement, and the agreement was that he was supposed to pay them in tranches. And so the first tranche elapsed, he couldn't pay, and then the second tranche, and so the last tranche was going to be in December. And so today, Mr. Bonsueshia held before Thaddeus Sorry and indicated or pleaded with the courts that, well, they have done a lot, and then they have put in place mechanisms to ensure that they get the money to pay. And so the court should tamper justice with mercy and give them some more time in order to pay. But the court said they have granted them enough time, and if they continue to give them time, they don't know to which end they are going to give that kind of time. And so a motion was filed by the state, by the Republic, passing or urging the court to pass a custodial sentence on Mr. Essien, and the court obliged.
So you are telling us that all these pleas by lawyers for Mr. Ato Essien were simply not listened to by the court. Tell us also about the counts. There were several counts. In fact, if you look at all the counts and the sentencing, it could pass off around 90 years plus. But that is not actually how long Mr. Ato Essien is going to spend in court. He's going to spend 15 years in hard labor. Tell us about those details and how you are computing this term of jail.
So his charges are related to stealing, conspiracy to steal, money laundering, and all of that. So when the judge put all of them together, about 16 of the counts, and so he counted. With each count, he passed a sentence. Some of the sentence range from 1 year, 2 years, some 10 years, some 7 years, some 11 years, and all of that. But the highest sentence related to stealing, and which he had 15 years, considering the fact that he is a first offender. And the court also took notice of the fact that his actions caused incalculable losses of jobs to innocent citizens, considering the fact that he actually took money and decided to open his own bank as well. And so by so doing, other people were deprived of jobs and the others. So when you put all the count together and the sentences together, it went up to 95 years. So he was supposed to serve 95 years, but because he is serving them concurrently, we take the highest form of sentence, which is 15. And so that is why Mr. Ato Essien is going in for 15 years.
There were pleas for mitigation. In fact, NDC's Director of Legal Affairs, Eduji Kujo Tamaklo, who had handled an earlier case, hanged around, and there were all pleas for mitigation. Tell us about the plea of mitigation first, and whether or not that played any role in the judge's handling down of this judgment.
Well, so two were raised. I mean, so when the motion was filed, they opposed the motion based on two grounds. The first is that the convict respondent had exhibited utmost good faith. He did not go to sleep. In fact, he did all he could to raise 37 million Ghana cedis out of the 90 million Ghana cedis he was supposed to pay. And there are other things that were also set in motion to enable him pay. And so that is the first one. And then the second one, he's a married man, he has children, he's a breadwinner of the family and all of that. And should the state go ahead to pass that sentence on him, the state's ability to retrieve the monies that are left, the 53 million that is left for him to pay, will be very difficult, because now when the sentence was passed on him and the license was revoked, he was not working, he couldn't travel, and he has some works and businesses overseas, and so he couldn't do anything. So the court should take into consideration these facts that they have put before him, and then grant them 6 more months to enable them pay. So that was the last thing that Mr. Bonsu indicated, that the court should, for the final time and the last time, grant Mr. Essien 6 more months to enable them pay. In fact, there was this project at Pram Pram that was valued at $10 million, and he said that they are in the process of doing that, and so should they even get that amount, it will be able to offset the remaining amount that they have. And so these were the plea of Mr. Essien's lawyers.
Right. So, like you heard there, the breaking news story we are covering for you right here at the High Court complex is that the founder of the now defunct Capital Bank, Mr. Ato Essien, has been jailed 15 years, and he's going to jail 15 years in hard labor. And if you look at the totality of the sentence, it runs up to 95 years. But because they are all running concurrently, the court has handed down a sentence with Mr. Ato Essien expected to spend 15 years in jail. William Ato Essien was personally in court wearing a mask, his demeanor and other things. We'll just get into that very shortly. But the plea for mitigation, we are expecting the High Court's full ruling at a later date. We'll know whether or not this plea of mitigation played any role in Justice Eric Chebafor's judgment. Of course, if it did not, then it will mean that if the plea was taken, the sentence could have come down a little bit. But if it was not taken, it means that it could have gone a little bit higher. So it appears all that will come into some...
So the judge took into consideration all of this, because he stated that for one of the sentences, Mr. Ato Essien could have gone in for 25 years. There was one that he could have gone in for more than 20 years. But because he acceded to the plea that they put before him, and that is why they were all reduced, considering the fact that he was a first-time offender, and then he took steps to pay. But the judge also indicated something, that when Mr. Ato Essien continued to plead not guilty and allowed the state to call witnesses, about 17 of the witnesses, and then wasted everybody's time until the final day when he saw that judgment was going to be passed, and then pleaded guilty. All of these things, he also took them into consideration. Otherwise, maybe the sentence could have come down if he had pleaded guilty from the outset.
So if Mr. Ato Essien pleaded guilty from the start, he could have gotten a much lesser sentencing. But as it is now, he's going to spend 15 years in jail in hard labor. What was the demeanor of Mr. Ato Essien in court whilst all this was happening? I entered the court at some point. I saw him, lawyers around him trying to calm him down. What was his demeanor throughout the proceedings today?
Well, so I saw him in the company of a very beautiful woman, a fair-colored woman. I don't know whether that woman is the wife. That woman kept on bowing the head and then listening to the proceedings. Mr. Ato Essien himself was in mask, and at the time the sentence was passed, I saw him, the eyes were teary. I don't know, he was very sad. So a lot of the people, the lawyers, you saw Eduji Tamaklo and then his lawyer Bonsu Essien also go there to console him. I don't know, I mean, the words they exchanged with him, maybe they were trying to say that, well, it will be, well, for 15 years you may come back and all of that. We can also even go back, plead with the state, make the payments, sell the asset and all of that. So calm down. This is not the end of the world. Other people have gone. So someone used to say something that it is for these comparisons. That is why people that are in prison, they don't really bother, because you'll be there, you serve, you are in jail for 10 years. Someone, you cry, someone comes and then he's been convicted and sentenced to 35 years. You say, oh, okay, mine is 10 years. So I presume that these were some of the conversations they had with Mr. Essien.
Yes. Eduji Tamaklo just walking around here, and that was the plea of mitigation that they put in, and it appeared to have convinced the judge a little to sentence Mr. Ato Essien to 15 years in jail. Mr. Ato Essien is the founder. He was the leader of the now defunct defunct bank, Capital Bank, and that bank went under, was part of the cleanup exercise.